Tonight on Our News Live at 7, tensions high on Abaco as government plans to demolish more than 500 shantytown structures. And how authorities are making it easier for victims of alleged sex crimes to make a police report. And turns out she's 100% Lizzo. The pop star shines at Atlantis over the weekend. Then in Our News at 7:30.
We are actually waging war on the criminals to take back this Bahamas.
Our News Live at 7 starts now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles, a community leader from Abaco, sounding off on the Shantytown issue. Local government township Chairman Roscoe Thompson says tensions are high on the island, and he's hoping it doesn't turn political. Bethany McDermott is following this.
As government looks to demolish 555 shantytown structures in New Providence and Abaco, one Abaco resident says tensions are high on the island. Local government council chairman Roscoe Thompson is questioning where will they go once the homes are demolished.
We have a housing issue here and a rental issue here in Abaco. We don't have enough rooms to rent for our teachers, police, defense force, immigration officers. What's going to happen?
The Office of the Attorney General is asking the Supreme Court to approve an order to demolish 232 unfinished and completed structures at Essebuel Highway on Abaco, 120 structures on the farm shantytown near Treasure Key, and the remaining structures in New Providence. While Thompson says he wants to see something done, he lacks faith in the justice system and is fearful the matter will become political.
I hope this isn't the case.
Officials say the farm shantytown grew by nearly 200 acres since Hurricane Dorian. Thompson says there needs to be a crackdown on those who bring foreigners here on work permits.
If they are renting or they are living down there, remember, as a Bahamian and you bring in a foreign worker, it does not matter if he's Haitian, Jamaican, Puerto Rican, expat, whatever he may be, you are responsible for his housing accommodation, his NIB contributions. You are responsible for everything while he is here.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Bethany. And we've got reaction tonight as government is seeking approval to demolish over 500 shantytown structures in New Providence and Abaco, which we just heard about right there. Joshua Williams, he has this angle.
May happen before I die.
Mixed reactions to government's request to the Supreme Court to demolish structures on 555 properties. These residents say while they sympathize with individuals losing their homes, something has to be done.
It's a difficult decision, and because of that, that's why they're holding out. At the end, we still talk about a Christian nation, and we're being compassionate. But the truth is, where else in the world are you going to go and just decide to go on somebody else's property and live there?
I wouldn't say I totally agree with the action of the government, but in the meantime, I feel like everybody should abide by the rules and regulation that is set forth in any land across any country.
These residents say more sympathy should be shown to those residents with perhaps a different approach in mind.
Some of them don't have the choice because for the situation they've been to. You know what I mean? You know, some people, they cannot help themselves. You know what I mean? They try to get something to live, to help. You know what I mean? So they don't have help.
What they need to do before they go in there is talk to the people, ask the people, hey, how y'all get you, first of all? That's the first step. Instead of just breaking down their houses, breaking down their things, because but in order to build something, you have to work towards it. You understand? So just to go in there and break it down, I feel like they should talk to the people first.
This resident is calling the proposed exercises a band-aid fix for a gaping wound.
I suspect that if we do not fix this problem soon enough, we're going to put a little civil war here in this Bahamas. I say let's get to the bottom of the issue, fix the immigration problem. Whatever date we're going to set, let's deal with it. And then after that, shut the door.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks a lot, Joshua. Well, the Court of Appeal today unanimously upholding the convictions of a man who killed a pregnant woman during a robbery. Alistair Williams was sentenced to 55 years in prison for the 2016 murder of Marisha Bowen. He's also serving a 10-year sentence for robbery at the same time. Bowen, originally from Guyana, was found naked in a blood-soaked bed with a belt around her neck in her apartment on Red Sea Road. Williams' DNA was found under her fingernails, in blood near the bedroom door, and her genitals. When police arrested Williams, they found him with 2 Samsung phones. One of them belonged to Bowen, the other to her son. He allegedly told the arresting officer, "Nardo Jicker, I was only there." Williams also claimed that the person he identified as Nardo gave him the phone while at Bowen's home. However, the Court of Appeal saying there's no doubt about the safety of the convictions, given the DNA evidence and Williams' post-arrest statement to police. And 2 men are in hospital tonight. They're still there after they were both stabbed during a fight at an East Bay Street business on Sunday. Police say the violent altercation involved a 22-year-old man and a 21-year-old man. It happened just after 11 p.m. after someone pulled out a knife and stabbed the men about the body. The victims are currently in stable condition in hospital. Investigations are ongoing. And an officer was shot in the face early this morning during an attempted traffic stop as part of the Royal Bahamas Police Force's Operation Ceasefire. The officer remains in hospital in stable condition. Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skipping says they initially caught sight of the vehicle speeding on East Street, but things went awry when they attempted to pull them over on Robinson Road.
The officers, utilizing their beacon lights, attempted to stop the vehicle, at which point a rear seat passenger of the black Nissan Note opened fire on the vehicle, which resulted in the driver being shot to the face. Officers came out this morning in an aggressive manner, took to the streets of New Providence, and in a short time we were able to recover that vehicle in the Garden Hills area.
All right, now our Marlena Leonard, she'll have much more in this story coming up in our news at 7:30. She talks to Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson. Details about the suspects. As we said, that's all coming up in our news at 7:30. It's time now for your first look at temperatures, and meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's standing by in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, another warm evening outside.
I know.
Very warm day today.
I feel the heat.
Yeah. It's 79 degrees outside our studios right now with a few clouds, and of course, as I said, it's warm. South-southwesterly winds, that's pumping in that warm air mass at 6 miles per hour, and your field side temperature is at 80 degrees. Temperatures around the islands tonight right now, it is 78 in Freeport, 80 over in Marsh Harbor. Pick up 81 in Alistown, Bimini, 78 in Greater Harbor Key, as well as in Governor's Harbor, 79 in Nicholstown, into the Central Bahamas, 81 Kemps Bay, 78, more of them, Arthurstown, Cat Island, Copenhagen, San Salvador, you got a couple of showers nearby, 79 in Georgetown, 80 in Deadman's Key, and into the Southeast Bahamas, 80 degrees, Duncantown, Ragged Island, we pick up a string of 79s, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, Delectable Bay, as well as in Abrahams Bay, Matthewtown, Inagua, 81, and our neighbors to the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands, you are 81 at this hour as well. Satellite view, quiet across area, that high pressure ridge starting to slide slowly towards the east away from us, but that kept us with some very sunny skies and warm temperatures. All ahead of a frontal boundary, a very active one that's moving across the Florida area. We expect that front to get near sometime late tomorrow into Thursday, so we could see an increase of some showers, but we do have one more day of warm temperatures expected. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. Look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Thanks, Greg. And still to come on our news, support for victims of sexual crimes as police see the number of sexual offenses in the country on the rise. Plus, the Prime Minister explains why government is borrowing to build an airport in his constituency. And later, Environment Minister Vaughn Miller talks action to mitigate climate change. That's coming up when our news returns.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Shareholders are very happy.
Oh, it's your thing. Do what you want to do.
The National Security Minister is tonight warning against committing sex crimes as he says convictions will follow. Monroe speaking out as more sexual offenses are being reported in the country. Jamila Mizik has more.
National Security Minister Wayne Monroe says officials are finding ways for victims of sexual crimes to comfortably report the traumatizing incidents. The move comes as the number of sexual offenses continue to rise, which is cause for concern for authorities.
The fact that this is another element of criminality that's on the rise tells us that people are disordered.
Alarming 2022 crime statistics revealed there were 55 rapes reported last year and 139 incidents of unlawful sexual intercourse, an 11% increase from 2021. As more rapes have been reported recently, suspects have been brought before the courts.
When you think that you can force yourself on someone, be it a man or a woman who is doing it, that a person's upbringing couldn't have inculcated in them that you are to respect people's privacy if you expect them to respect yours.
Monroe warns against committing sexual crimes as he says convictions can have a lifelong impact.
We have a regime now, when you're convicted of those offenses, you go on the register and you remain on the register for an extended period, and people will say their convictions follow them. That is a conviction that will follow you. That is a conviction that will disentitle you to work around children. That is a conviction that will probably drive people not to hire you, certainly around women. So before people think about that, you should think about the weight that it will put on your life going forward.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Thanks, Jamila. Prime Minister Philip Davis hitting back at critics who say they are not happy with his recent announcement that his administration will borrow money to fund a new airport on Cat Island. Ground was broken for a new airport in New Bight last week. However, funding for the project is up in the air. Davis, who is also the representative for the area, said the project could cost up to $17 million, but that money would have to be borrowed.
We have to understand how government operates, right? We borrow until the revenue is sufficient to offset the borrowings. And when we talk about borrowings, it will be done responsibly. It may very well be that we don't borrow but have a 3P, which is a public-private partnership, and the revenue of the airport will assist in defraying those expenses. So it's not just borrowing per se to add to the debt, but it's borrowing in the context that we could securitize the borrowing by the revenues that may be generated from the airport.
The Best Energy Bahamas Energy Expo 2023, bringing together international and local energy experts, business owners, government representatives, and multinational firms. Attendees were exposed to world-class solutions, exchanging ideas and developing alliances to bring energy independence and technological innovations to the Bahamas and region. Addressing the group was Minister for the Environment, Bon Miller, who also used the opportunity to talk to the group about his ministry's plan to address the illegal clearing of large tracts of land.
It is estimated that about 2/3 of carbon dioxide increase comes from the burning of fossil fuels, and fossil fuels, again, such as oil, gas, and coal, while the remaining third comes from the deforestation of large tracts of forests. That is why my ministry is cracking down on the process of indiscriminately clearing large tracts of forests, which turns these lands into local deserts.
And the Environment Minister says the public has a role to play. He reiterated the government's commitment to mitigating climate change.
My ministry is engaging in a public outreach to help landowners include replanting native trees as a part of their climate change mitigation. When we took office in 2021, we decided that it was time to be more serious about prioritizing energy reform in the context of climate change mitigation and
When our news comes
adaptation.
back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as 39 people were killed in a deadly fire at a migrant center in Mexico. Plus, the University of the Bahamas introduces Culturama. We'll have the details on how you can get in on the festivities. And later, all the rumors are true. Lizzo, the pop superstar, makes waves at Atlantis over the weekend. The details when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. 28-year-old Audrey Hale, who is suspected of killing 3 children and 3 adults at a Christian school in Nashville, legally bought 7 firearms in recent years and hid the guns from her parents before the attack. The violence at the Covenant School, which is now under investigation, is the latest school shooting to roil the nation. 3 9-year-old students were killed, as well as the head of the grade school, a custodian, and a substitute teacher. Hale was a former student at the school, although police say the shooter did not target specific victims. Twitter boss Elon Musk has announced a shakeup of the social media platform's paid Twitter Blue feature. From April 15th, only verified subscribers will have posts recommended to other users and be allowed to vote in polls. Under the policy, posts from non-paying accounts will not be included in the For You stream of recommended tweets. Last week, the firm said it would remove the verified status of some legacy accounts, which date from before Mr. Musk bought the firm. Honda is recalling more than 330,000 vehicles because heating pads behind both side view mirrors may not be bonded properly, which could lead to the mirror glass falling out and increase the risk of a crash. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said the vehicles don't comply with the necessary rear visibility requirements. Vehicles included in the recall include the 2020 to 2022 Odyssey, the 2020 to 2022 Passport, the 2020 to 2021 Pilot, and the 2020 to 2021 Ridgeline. Honda dealers will replace the side view mirrors on impacted vehicles free of charge. Owner notification letters are expected to be sent out on May 8th. At least 39 people have died in a fire at a migrant processing center in Mexico. Officials say the fire started shortly before 10 p.m. local time on Monday during a protest against deportations. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said migrants had set mattresses ablaze. Many of the victims are thought to be Venezuelans trying to reach the United States. Many have been heading to the U.S. border in expectation of an end to Title 42, which gives the U.S. government the power to quickly expel migrants. And finally, 3 people died and 13 are missing after a boat capsized near the eastern Caribbean island of St. Kitts early Tuesday. Authorities say the boat was carrying 32 passengers, 16 of whom were rescued. Officials in Antigua are leading the search and said the majority of those rescued are from unidentified countries in Africa. It was not immediately clear where the people who died were from. The boat sank about 40 miles northwest of Antigua. Still to come on Our News Today in History, find out interesting facts about the day that was March 28th. Greg is back with your extended weather forecast a little later, and then in Our News at 7:30, is more court action on the way surrounding the issue of shanty towns? A former works minister thinks so. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our attention to events that shaped the day that was March 28th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 2015, the Free National Movement questioned whether a police investigation was warranted after then Michael MP and Agriculture Minister V. Alfred Gray was relieved of his local government portfolio. This was pending an independent investigation into interference with a court case for one of his constituents. Gray denied that he acted improperly when he contacted the Mayaguana Island administrator, who was acting as the local magistrate at the time. Then in 2016, another blaze in a series of fires at New Providence landfill, sending clouds of smoke across the island. On March 28, 2021, then Tourism and Aviation Minister Denicio de Aguilar defended government's purchase of the Grand Bahama International Airport from the port for $1. And finally, on this day in 2022, Our News reported on a surge in gas prices on New Providence that reached $6+ per gallon.
This segment of the news is brought to you by H.G. Christie. List your home in Grand Bahama with H.G. Christie. Visit our new office in the Port Lakaya Marketplace. H.G. Christie, celebrating over 100 years of service.
The University of the Bahamas Northern Campus gearing up to host several events this week at the school's future downtown Grand Bahama campus. The highlights of the week include a cultural festival on March 31st, followed by a Culturama concert on April 1st. Committee Chair Arthurine Turnquest says the goal is to give students an extraordinary college experience, while librarian Juliet Glenn Callender says there will also be an exhibition entitled Our Legacy, Our Future.
It helps to produce well-rounded students committed to voluntary service and community building. known as Culturama, students, faculty, and staff all come together to participate in a week of activities ending in a grand festival.
It takes us through a pictorial journey of the institution's existence and gives us some insight into the contributions of those who took up the mantle to educate and train the young and our future professionals of Grand Bahama.
And the festivities won't end there. There's also a choir competition this week that includes many high schools on Grand Bahama. The Ministry of Tourism is also on board for this week's cultural events, and the Grand Bahama Independence Committee has officially endorsed it.
Build this institution up. If you look at the great universities around the world, they just didn't happen overnight. Those things were brought into where they are now through private, public, and certainly individual persons donating and being a part of what the institution was all about.
I mean, how could you celebrate the Road to 50 with not celebrating University of the Bahamas? You know, it is historic. And when we talk about the history of our nation and we talk about the legacy of the Bahamas, we got to talk about University of the Bahamas. University of the Bahamas is a part of our narrative. And so we're so excited to partner with them to endorse this event.
All right, the Atlantis Resort continuing its Making Music Waves series that has featured a number of international artists right here at home. The latest, U.S. pop star Lizzo. Natalia Hall attended the concert.
That is just a sample of what fans of Grammy Award-winning pop artist Lizzo experienced on Saturday night at the Atlantis Resort on Casuarina Beach. Lizzo performing some of her top hits that excited the crowd. The concert was prepared for some 5,000 people, and these attendees say Lizzo did not disappoint.
The best time ever. We love Lizzo. She's such a queen. We love her. I came to the concert because I love Lizzo. I love how confident she is, and the show was just so amazing, man. The energy was amazing. So I just came from Jazz in the Garden, and I think that this setup was way better. Like, I was very impressed.
Vice President of On-Island Marketing and Entertainment for Atlantis, Jason Spencer, says the event exceeded their expectations.
We had a record number of people, multiple thousands out here to see Lizzo, arguably the biggest artist out right now, fresh off a Grammy win, and she really tore the house down. You know, several thousand people. We had a great concert village where everyone came down and enjoyed themselves. Then they came into the concert and watched Lizzo in a nice, smaller, intimate theater.
Now this event kicked off the 25th anniversary of the Royal at Atlantis.
Started in a huge way with Lizzo, and we're going to continue to have concerts and exciting entertainment all throughout the summer. So just go back to atlantislive.com, continue to check it, and we have some exciting announcements coming up.
The grand event culminated with fireworks over the Atlantis Hotel, making it a successful night. Reporting for Our News, I'm Natalia Hall.
All right, looks like fun. I'm going to ask Natalia about that in a minute. But to watch that story again, and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Natalia Hall with the latest headlines. Natalia, you look like you have a lot of fun.
Lots of fun.
I've never seen you.
I know, right?
Like
it's
that.
good for everyone to see my fun side. There's a fun side to me as well.
How was it?
But it was great. It was great. She performed really well. Wasn't expecting that, but overall she did great.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a next concert scheduled for June, so I hope you go with me.
All right, so let me know.
It's a date. All right, thanks so much, Ken. Well, new tonight, the former Works Minister says a plan was left in place to deal with shanty towns and why police are now waging war after one of their own is shot. Here are your latest headlines. New tonight on Our News Live at 7:30.
Coming up tonight, a former F&M cabinet minister is weighing in on the shantytown issue. I'm Anthony McDermott, and I'll have all the details for you tonight in Our News.
Plus, why police say they are waging war after a police officer was shot in the face early this morning. And later, Team Bahamas is named for the upcoming Carifta Games as the countdown continues. But first, why a senior educator says parents have one of the most important roles to play in keeping our young people safe. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
With over 25 years in business, nothing says commitment to our people.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Atalia Hall. Former Works Minister Desmond Bannister is blaming government for the rapid growth of shanty towns in recent years. He says government has a small window to move as he predicts more court action is coming to block the demolition of the illegal structures. Bernie McDermott reports.
As government moves to demolish shantytown structures, former F&M Cabinet Minister Desmond Bannister is calling the shantytown issue concerning, adding it didn't have to be this way because a mechanism was left in place.
The police and the defense force were involved, and they did regular walkthroughs. The police had plans to put a mobile station there. We closed off all the roads because they were illegal roads. And the defense force at one stage were doing 24-hour duties because we had confiscated so many generators. People were actually trying to steal those generators back.
Following Hurricane Dorian, the former government cleared the land once known as the Mud, the Pigeon Pea and Sandbanks in Abaco. But it's a different cry from Immigration Minister Keith Bell, who last year placed the shocking growth of an Abaco shantytown at the feet of the former administration.
As I indicated, I'm trying to speak as a statesman. I've heard many statements made publicly that are untrue. And that statement is untrue. Basically, the only structures that were left in that area in the farm were the structures that were there before Dorian. We destroyed everything.
Now it seems the shantytown issue is creating another problem, housing. To that, Bannister made this suggestion to the government.
We were seeking to reform immigration so that if someone got a work permit for someone else, they had to ensure that they lived in some decent conditions.
Back in February, the injunction blocking the demolition of shantytowns was lifted. Since then, eviction notices were distributed and government is now moving to demolish structures as a group files an appeal.
And I expect that the next move will be an application to stay proceedings until such time as the court proceeding, the appeal is heard.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bernie McDermott.
All right, thanks, Bernie. While a police officer is still in hospital after a traffic stop ended with a suspect shooting him in the face early this morning, our Marlena Leonard picks up the story from here, telling us police are waging war on criminals.
This morning, police officers returned to the scene on Robinson Road where an officer involved in Operation Ceasefire was shot in the face around 12:30 a.m. Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skippings.
They were on routine patrol on East Street, traveling north, when they observed a small black Nissan Note with 3 male occupants traveling at a high rate of speed. The officers, utilizing their beacon lights, attempted to stop the vehicle, at which point a rear seat passenger of the black Nissan Note opened fire on the vehicle, which resulted in the driver being shot to the face.
Now, the suspects initially got away after ditching their vehicle here on Hibiscus Way, but were quickly apprehended by officers, some of whom were even off duty, who stepped in immediately after the harrowing incident. Officer in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department, Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson, tells us most of the car's passengers were known to police.
We was able to take 3 suspects who are presently in custody. 2 of them are on bail for serious offenses. And we continue to see this with these persons who are on bail for these serious matters. One is outfitted with an ankle monitor. The person that is on monitor is on bail for murder. He's in his early 20s.
Now, Chief Superintendent Skippings has this message for criminals.
We are going to be resolute and we are going to be firm. We are not tolerating this type of behavior. No longer. It will not. And you will see an aggressive approach on criminals. We are actually waging war on the criminals to take back this Bahamas. We will not tolerate it.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, thanks for that detailed report, Marlena. Well, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe says police are doing their best to stop gun trafficking in the country. This as the Bahamas, along with other countries in the region, is backing Mexico's $10 billion lawsuit to hold American gun makers liable for facilitating the trafficking of American-made guns. Monroe coming to the defense of Bahamian police officers during Tuesday's weekly cabinet briefing.
anyone who believes that the police, who as last night would indicate come under fire, would somehow not take every step they can to stop gun trafficking is an idiot, because it's in their own self-interest to stop guns coming on the street, because they are the ones who have to put themselves between the gunman and us. So the public should rest very assured that every policeman does the best he could to keep this menace off our streets, because his duty is to confront it.
He adds, contrary to popular belief, luxury vessels aren't the main importers of weapons.
Why do people think that vessels aren't boarded? Vessels are boarded by the Defense Force and by Customs. Most vessels that traverse these waters and waters where they may be the subject of piracy declare their firearms. There is no credible evidence that firearms is coming here through these vessels. The guns are tracked back to the gun shops, tracked back to the purchasers, and the intelligence is that they seem to be coming in more often than not in cargo, not in pleasure crafts.
A father who allegedly made his 16-year-old masturbate at gunpoint while he took photos of the act will face a judge soon. The 44-year-old man, whose name has been withheld to protect the child's identity, was supposed to appear before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt for his trial on charges of cruelty to children, assault with a deadly weapon, production of child pornography, and possession of child pornography. However, a warrant was issued after he was initially a no-show, but Our News understands he did eventually show up and that warrant was canceled. Prosecutors allege the man put a gun to the child's head and forced her to perform the sex acts at his home on April 6, 2022. The child was removed from the home after authorities learned of the allegations. The matter has since been transferred to Shaker, Seville. Police say they need your help finding two armed robbers who they say are behind a recent car theft. The incident reportedly occurred around 10 p.m. on Sunday. Police say the victim had parked a red Nissan Note outside of her home on Horseshoe Drive when she was approached by two men, one of whom produced a handgun. The suspects demanded the victim exit the vehicle before speeding off in her compact car. Police are asking anyone with information to contact them at telephone numbers 919-911 or the nearest police station. Temperatures cooling off outside the Our News studio tonight. Meteorologist Greg Thompson has the latest live from the Weather Center. Good evening, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, and a happy evening, everybody. Warm evening outside our studios. Temperatures are near the 80-degree mark, 79 degrees with a few clouds. The winds out of the south to southwest, and it's bringing in that warm air mass, making it feel like a warm 80 degrees on the outside. Satellite view, ridge of high pressure dominating, still providing us with some dry air mass and some warmer temperatures. We got an isolated shower earlier today, but a frontal boundary to the north is expected to get here sometime tomorrow and into Thursday, so we could see an increase in some showers during that time frame. That's your quick check on weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
A closer look at issues at a Grand Bahama school after a protest on Monday, and why a senior education official says parents need to do more to keep students safe. And later, smooth sailing for Balearia Caribbean heading into the spring season. That's all coming up when Our News continues.
Protests outside the Sister Mary Patricia Junior High School in Grand Bahama yesterday. Our News understands teachers at the institution have several grievances as well as concerns with the school's principal.
Concerns about the comments that were made, and we are addressing those concerns, and we are confident that we should come to a resolve in a very short time. Okay. We want parents to know that their children are being taught, and no lessons, all lessons are being covered, and their children are not being disenfranchised. So, in spite of what is going on with some union concerns, parents need to know that school is continuing and their children are being taught.
All right, and that was the District Superintendent of Education on Grand Bahama, Ivan Butler. Meanwhile, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson is sounding the alarm over the steady increase in violence, especially among young men. Her concern follows the death of a government high school student due to gun violence. 16-year-old Junior Rosslyn of Carmichael Road was killed back on March 18th when he and another teen were standing in front of a home in Montel Heights. Wilson says the violence is not just concerning for her as head of the teachers union, but also as a citizen and a mother.
I know that the school, we try our best to train the child, to teach the child, to give them programs and positive role models and activities that would steer them in the right direction. But we have been having too many of our young people die on the street, and definitely too many of our young men. So today I want to say to the young men, try to learn as much as you can. Participate in the programs and the clubs and the sporting activities in your school.
And she says parents also have a part to play.
Know who their friends are. Go and meet their teachers. Speak to them. Find out from them what it is that they want to do in the future. Because if we continue at this rate, we really gonna be in deep trouble, because we're not gonna have anyone left to keep our country moving and developing and going forward.
Crime consultant in the Ministry of National Security, Carlos Reed, is adding his concern to the number of teens involved in recent shootings over the past week. Reed, who is known nationally for his television program, The Shock Treatment, is calling on parents to do more to ensure their children's safety.
We need to go back to basics. We need to be able to hold a lot of these parents accountable for some of their children's action, particularly these young kids. Because if you look back a few weeks ago, a young boy was shot. They said that he was going out to get something to eat, 1 o'clock in the morning. That's a problem to me. So I know that's a problem to a lot of other people.
But Reed says help is on the way.
We are now looking at programs that we're going to be implementing in primary schools, junior high schools, senior high schools. We realize that, particularly because of the pandemic, that we missed some years of really these kids getting the kind of proper schooling that they need. So we need to go back to basics.
Valeria Caribbean has doubled its passenger traffic for 2022. I spoke with the managing director of the company that's been operating in the Bahamas since 2011 about this achievement. And he says for spring break, the numbers are expected to rise.
As a managing director, I'm proud, and I'm proud about my team, about our team in the Bahamas, in Bimini and in Grand Bahama, and for sure our team in here as well in Fort Lauderdale.
Valeria Caribbean provides weekly services from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Grand Bahama and Bimini. But Managing Director Mario Otero says the good news is in 2022, the vessel carried some 112,000 passengers, 50% more than the previous year, which shows that the market is improving.
We are very happy. We are seeing that the numbers are coming back. People wants to travel. People is repeating, and we have repeat guests, which is a great thing, right? And for sure, also the locals are using our service.
And for the 2023 spring break, he says is expected that they'll have more than 10,000 passengers.
We are going to have the same same numbers as we left in 2019, probably. That's our target, to be back in 2023 with the same numbers that we left at that time.
As the summer approaches, the Balearia executive says trips to and from Grand Bahama will increase.
We're going to increase to up to 3 sailings to Grand Bahama, and we are going to keep the same 3 sailings for Bimini. As right now, we are not seeing any need, but like I say, we are very on top of that to see if we have to respond to the market in a quick way.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, a look at the weekend weather.
The Bahamas Carifta track and field team was officially named today. We talk about the Bahamas swim team, and we have some NPBA finals action. Stay with us for Our Sports.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Corona, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is Our News. Welcome back. The Bahamas Carifta track and field team officially named today, and some New Providence basketball finals action. Well, Tage Adderley joins us now live for the check on sports. Tage?
Thanks, Natalia. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tage Adderley. The 2023 Carifta track and field team has been named. Here's Sasha Lightbar with more from today's naming ceremony.
We are just 9 days away from the 50th edition of the Carifta Games that will be held here in New Providence, and it's now official. Team Bahamas, which is made up of 41 boys and 39 girls, will hit the track and field come April 7th once competition gets underway. Making the official announcement was President of the B3A's Dramico Archer.
In the girls under 17 division, 100 meters, Cheyenne Demerit, Jamia Nabi. In the girls 200 meters, Jamia Nabi, Cheyenne Demerit. 400 meters, Dominic Dean, Tamia Taylor. In the boys under 17 division, 100 meters, Andrew Brown and Ishmael Roll. 200 meters, Caden Smith and Andrew Brown. 400 meters, Andrew Brown, and if he elects not to contest the 400 meters, it would be Egan Neely and Zion Shepard. In the girls 100 meters in the under 20 division, Shatalia Dorset and Amari Pratt. Girls 200 meters, Amari Pratt and Lacarthia Cooper. Girls 400 meters, Javonia Valcourt and Lacarthia Cooper.
Now, those are just some of the names on what officials are calling the Golden Team. Archer spoke to the difficulty surrounding the deliberation process.
We were here from the start of the relays, which was around 10 o'clock. We went into meetings that lasted for about 4 hours, and then we invited the coaching community. So what happens is we have an executive team that meets jointly with the team selection committee, and we spent hours just deliberating and combing through the names and the stats, not only locally but throughout the region. And when I went outside, I saw a littering of coaches waiting for this team to be named, and it was near 3 o'clock. And that's just how tense it is.
The head coach of the team is John Ingram out of Grand Bahama. He will be assisted by 7 other coaches, 3 managers, and 5 chaperones. Now, for a full list of the 2023 Carifta team, be sure to check out the Our News social media pages. Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Thanks, Sasha. The Bahamas Carifta swim team will leave for Curacao in just a few days to defend their championship crown once again. President of the Bahamas Aquatics Federation, Algernon Cargill, says the sport does not get the attention it deserves.
I say that unashamed. We don't get the respect. We do the hard work, and I don't think the parents or the public recognize that swimming is definitely not an elite sport. A long time ago, swimming had that perception that we were a sport populated mostly with middle to upper class white Bahamians. That has changed a lot.
And Cargill is also targeting corporate Bahamas.
We don't get the support from corporate Bahamas. We don't get the support, I would say, from the general public. And I don't know why, and I think that's because of the stereotype we have. And we really want to change that stereotype because our athletes work very hard.
And finally, the New Providence Basketball Association Division 1 and 2 finals began at the AF Adderley Gymnasium last night. In Division 2, the YES Giants beat the Produce Express Rockets 74-64. In Division 1 action, the Commonwealth Bank Giants beat the Discount Distributors Rockets 71-67. Dylan Musgrove had 27 for the Giants, Eugene Bain had 10 points and a beastly 17 rebounds, and the old guy, Michael Furley Bain, added 16 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. Now be sure to stay tuned to our TV network for the full coverage of the 50th Carifta Games starting on Good Friday, April 7th to the 10th. We'll also have team coverage of the Bahamas Carifta swimming team from Curacao. I'll be there along with our Sasha Lightbourne giving live updates. And that's your look at sports. I'm Tage Adderley. Back to you, Italia.
All right, thanks so much, Tage. It's good to have you in studio tonight. Are you excited about the games?
Yes, I am. We have the best swim team in the region, and I know we're supposed to be impartial, but I'm excited to go there and watch them in real time, in person. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much, Tage. Still to come on Our News, Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather forecast right after this break. Stay with us.
children.
Welcome back to our news. The weather has been pretty consistent over the past few days. Greg is back in the Weather Center now, live. Greg, what else can we expect this week?
You didn't tell me you went to that concert. You know Greg liked to hear some of Lizzo's music.
Greg.
But I got you.
Greg, the next concert?
Yeah, you've been promising Candino the concert as well, so make sure I'm included in that.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, beautiful conditions around the island. It was a hot day. Temperatures managed to make it up into the mid-80s. It's unusual for this time, and it's also warm out there. That high is going to be sliding out towards the east eventually. That's paving the way for a frontal boundary, a very active one across the northern portion of Florida. Tail end of that should swing into our area sometime Wednesday night into Thursday, so we're looking at a couple of showers with that frontal boundary. Future forecast shows that rather nicely. Most of the activity will be waning. By tomorrow evening, that front should be just across the northwest Bahamas, and then by Thursday evening, slowly sagging into the central Bahamas. Some isolated showers still hanging around for us. Taking a look at your boating forecast, beautiful on the waters tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots. They will fall light and variable at times. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 8 p.m. tonight. Central and southeastern islands, southeast to southerly flow, 10 to 15 knots. Wave heights running 2 to 4 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, that frontal boundary, as I mentioned, getting in here sometime by tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. to about 7 o'clock. But those showers will hang around as the front moves it through our area early on Thursday. Behind that, clearing and very beautiful conditions for the weekend. And that takes us into early next week, Tuesday. That's a look at our weather.
Thanks so much, Greg. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.